Hey, this is Sandy.
And Randy.
And we're here on AT Corner.
Being an athletic trainer comes with ups and downs, and we're here to showcase it all.
Join us as we share our world in sports medicine.
Welcome back to another episode of AT Corner. Our story episode this week, we are going under the sea!
You know what? I actually never, ever know where you're going to go with the beginning of our episode.
Hey, but it makes sense for this one. Kind of. We're talking about water.
We are talking about water. We're talking about swim. Specifically swim.
Yes, exactly.
Not dive, not
Nope.
water polo.
Literally just swim.
Just swim.
I mean, not just swim. I mean, swim, but yes.
And bonus, we have a special co-host, like super special. This is something that we've been trying to put together for a while and super excited about because our co-host today is my co-head athletic trainer at the college that I work at.
Yes.
Her name is Stephanie Chuml, and she has honestly taught me so much about swim. I don't know if she'll ever listen to this because she said she doesn't want to listen to her own voice. And I could go on and on about how well we work together. And what's so cool about this episode and like what she goes into talking about is that she wasn't a swimmer herself. So going into the sport, she has had to learn all these things all these gems that she's imparted upon us in this episode.
I had same boat as me. Like, this is the first time that I'm actually working with aquatics, and I'm gonna have to go through the same thing. So this episode was really helpful for me. I learned a lot.
I feel like we're all in like weird different places because Stephanie has worked a ton of swim and she's teaching us a lot. She's teaching you a lot because you're starting to work swim. I don't. Well, we kind of split swim at the college, but I used to swim. Yeah. When I was younger. Now I want nothing to do with it because I'm hydrophobic. But
yeah, the water.
Yeah, but we're like completely like I feel like the three of us are kind of like in different places of swim, and then also we have listener stories that kind of like it's a good like variety we have in this episode.
Yes.
And then we're also talking about practice modifications, weird injuries, kit essentials, injuries from different swim strokes, which was really interesting.
That was cool.
And then just basically like what you need to know to work swim.
Yeah.
So you've come to the right place, you're working swim, or you want to work swim, or you're going to be at a place where you're going to work swim, or you just want to hear about it.
And make you feel confirmed why you don't work swim.
Actually, we did do a poll on our Instagram, and 70% of the athletic trainers that we polled have worked swim.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, here's your how-to guide.
Let's kick it off with a story. Do you want to share your funny story?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story and kind of a poor guy story. So we were at the national championships and our swim team was in tech suits, which if you don't know tech suits, they are very, very, very form-fitting and they take up to like 20-30 minutes. I know for women it takes longer, men it's not as long because women have to try and get it over their shoulders as well.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, and then they cost like upward of like over $800 per tech suit.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so like it's like we saved that for the national championships. Like that's when they get their tech suits because we want to swim fast, right? So this guy was done for the day and he was trying to get out of his tech suit. And one of his, like they have a drawstring, like you know how like your sweatpants have a string to help kind of hold it up. Well, this suit had one of those. And I don't know if he double knotted it to begin with or if like untying it turned into a double knot. But this poor kid could not untie the drawstring to try and get the tech suit off.
Oh no.
Like every time, like you're trying to pull it, you have to like suck it in and pull. And then like someone's trying to work on it and you're trying to hold it in. Like he was turning red.
Oh,
we were like panicking, and he went up to the coach because it was my first time with the team. So they didn't know me as well. So like they didn't know like what to come to me for really. And I don't think I wanted him to come to me for that anyway. But he went to the coach and the coach was like, well, I can't help you, like, because it was a female coach and then a male athlete. It's a tech suit. They're trying to pull it away. Luckily, the host AT was a male. So they were like, go over to him, see what they have, like, to try and, like, to get it undone. I think after a while, with some tweezers, we were finally able to unknot it, and he was able to get him off. And the poor guy looked so relieved when he walked out of the locker room.
Yeah, I bet.
And I was thinking tweezers.
Yeah.
I was thinking needle. Not that I keep a needle in my kit.
I traveled minimally. So, like, because we had to get on a plane and everything. And I know we're going to get to med kit stuff, but it was just like, you can go see if he can help you. Yeah. Oh, I was like, that just sticks out. Like, it was just all like, oh, poor buddy.
I know, seriously. That sucks.
I'm glad he got out. And plus you're like, oh man, you can't cut it because it's so expensive.
Got out without damage.
Yeah, I want to say we still had more days left. So
shoot.
Cutting it was like last resort.
Right.
So it was like, okay, we gotta try and wait to see if we can actually get it undone. But I felt like he was gonna pass out at some point.
Oh yeah.
Kept having to just suck it in and hold it out, and poor guy. So
he didn't just want to keep it on for the next couple days.
They start complaining of like their legs lose feeling because they're so tight.
Oh my gosh.
I bet.
Holy smokes.
The girls' shoulders, they have like such bad indents. They're always coming to me and they're like, Stephanie, my traps hurt so bad. I was like, I can't help you.
There's nothing I can do.
So we actually did get one person who submitted a story on tech suits. This is from Adrienne G. She said, I use Aquaphor or Vaseline for suit burns. Swimmers use it to prevent them mostly. Their suits are so small and anywhere along the edges of the suit can cause a burn. They could really use it anywhere, but definitely traps and shoulder straps are where they're the thinnest. It takes them so long to put the tech suits on, and most of the time they need help from a teammate. But there were a number of times girls rip suits mid-meet or while trying to put them on. But once they're on, they stay on until cool down.
Yeah, that's a good tip, the Vaseline. I never had someone get a burn from one yet, so I guess I was lucky enough about that. But
I didn't even know what a tech suit was before.
Me neither, until I got thrown in the deep end.
Hey, literally. Hey, good one.
With no floaties. I did not know much about swim before I worked it. Like, besides watching Olympics, Michael Phelps swimming. Everybody gets where's their knowledge is from, but there's so much more behind it.
I was gonna say, I'm the only advantage that I have is I've worked in individual sport before, so at least I have that background. But yeah, this is my first time with swim, so.
Oh yeah, you're working swim now.
I think
working with the fish athletes.
Yeah, a lot of like the like track and swim kind of coincide because you have that individual and team aspect. So like that's kind of what I was basing it off of a lot. I was like, okay, I know you have individual events. Okay, I know relays, like, all right, what's this? What's that? The nicest difference is there's only one pool to watch.
That is true.
Nice.
That is nice.
You are literally standing there and watching only one.
What would you say was the biggest kind of like eye-opening you didn't know? Maybe the tech suits or like something else that you didn't know working, like going into swim that you're like, oh, this would be helpful, or like maybe about like the rules, or I feel like some insight.
I mean, I think the biggest thing I learned is that it is kind of a kiss of death to take someone totally out of the pool. Like, that was like a huge, like, no, that can't happen. Luckily, the coach that the first swim coach I worked with, she like helped educate me and be like, no, like, we can modify, like, if they can't use their legs, they can pull. If they can't use their arms, they can pull. Now, of course, they can kick, sorry. Of course, when there's the times that it's just like, no, they need to be out of the pool. But it's that feel of water is kind of like, because I didn't swim, so I didn't have an idea of like, oh yeah, like if you're out of the pool for 3 days, like that is hugely detrimental. Yeah. Whereas like a team sport or an outdoor sport, like if you're out for 3 days, you can usually come back and get pretty back into it pretty quickly.
We actually did get a couple on practice modifications. An anonymous one said generally for lower extremity injuries, they can pull, like you said, just swim with their upper body. And for upper extremity, they can use a kickboard. You can also change up stroke, frequency, intensity, or breathing patterns to help with certain issues. If all else fails, they can do dry land or abs and core.
Yes.
That's also like some of the lingo, like dry land, pulling. I just learned pulling like last week.
Yeah, so they were like, oh, we're doing dry land, and I was like, well, what's that?
Excuse me.
It's our exercises outside of the pool. And I was like, oh, okay. I got it. And that's what they would call strength and conditioning too.
Oh, okay.
They would be like, oh, we're going to dry land in the morning and then we have swim practice after. And I've gotten pretty good at like interchanging the vocabulary. If I'm dealing with a swimmer, I'm like, oh, do you have dry land today? And they're like, no. And I'm like, I think when I moved to my new institution, they were surprised that I was like, so what about dry land? And they kind of looked at me like, do you really know?
You're saying things I know, but do you know those things?
Right? Yeah. Getting the lingo down.
Hey, that's important, especially with this, like such like an individual or like a unique sport like swim. Like just being able to show that you kind of understand what they're talking about goes a long way.
Oh yeah. And then being able to just like ask like, oh, well, what stroke do you do? And kind of knowing a little information about each stroke so that they could be like, oh, okay, you get it. Like, all right, I'll listen. I think they listen more if like you kind of know what you're talking about.
That just reminds me of something else that someone else submitted. Randy, you want to read this one from Rebecca?
Yes, this one's by Rebecca R. Don't be afraid to get creative. I had a kid dislocate their patella. He was in a knee immobilizer, and the doc told him he either was in it for 6 weeks or surgery. He opted for the brace because his coach told him we could work something out without consulting me.
Of course.
and he had the time before the season officially began. His coach was a real nightmare and insisted that he'd lose the feel of the water if he didn't stay in the pool. Hey, see, we talked about feel. Since he had to stay immobilized, we took 4 PVC pipes and put them around his leg like a brace and then flexi wrapped them in place so he could swim. That's pretty creative.
It's like a knee immobilizer in the water. I feel like for swim, obviously everything has to be waterproofed.
Oh, 100%.
Everything has to be waterproofed. Yes. And it's got to stay.
Yeah. I know of an athlete. She actually broke her hand hitting someone else because they were like going both ways in the lane. And then you can see her in the pool still swimming with like a trash bag on and it
oh my God.
Like, so that she was at least kind of part of the team and doing something. But that's a good one.
Kind of along those lines. So I worked my first swim meet a couple weeks ago. I was pretty proud of myself. It was a small one. It was pretty quick. But like, so I had to cover up like a wound, and then I had to do KT tape. And then I didn't know this, but like before the meet, like both those athletes came over to me and was like, hey, can you give me a note for the official? I was like, wait, what? I mean, yeah, no big deal, but I didn't have paper because I wasn't prepared that I had to let the official know, hey, they need this tape on them.
Yeah, and that is one of the rules that luckily my coach made me aware of like before. So I try to like stay away from KT tape since they can't really have it. And it depends on the official too. I've heard some officials like not accepting letters or they will accept it. They have to have a medical excuse. I had a team on the road, and I think they applied it themselves, and my coach was like, can you write a letter so she can tape? And I had known of the injury, and it was fine. So like, it wasn't just like, oh, hey, like, we're doing this, can you get on it? Like, I knew of the injury and I knew what was going on, so I was like, yeah, all right. And I had to email it over. But I know USA Swim is a big one that doesn't allow KT tape, and it's because it's used. It's what's the word? It's technically an advantage.
Oh,
I don't understand how. I feel like it'd create more drag.
I think because they think it's an advantage for based on like improving performance more so.
All right. If they think that way.
Yeah, so for my philosophy with swimmers, I try and stay away from any type of tape or KT tape or for as long as possible, because I know that one, it's really hard to get it to stick in the water, even if like I've applied KT tape and they come after practice and they're like, it fell off. And I'm like, okay. But just because I know at the meets, they're not really allowed to have it. So
interesting.
Yeah.
We got a couple weird injuries. Actually, most of the things we have are weird injuries. Which at first I was like acute injuries in swim. I was like, I can't even think of any that I've had. I mean, I haven't worked swim that much.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's one time for me, so can't go off of that.
Yeah, I've had a concussion, and then I know of the broken hand one. I saw a diver. So we didn't have dive at my specific institution, but at the national championship, you can see the divers over there. He hit his hand on the diving board.
Ooh.
And it broke the skin, and then it also, I think he fractured a couple bones.
Ouch.
He came the next day and he was in a cast, and we were like, oh man.
Yeah, dang it.
Yeah.
That sucks.
How'd you get the swimmer with the concussion?
Oh shoot, it was a while ago. It might have been during dry land, actually, not swim.
Oh, that makes sense.
But I've heard stories of people on their flip turns, they hit their head, and that's when they get their concussion. But I want to say ours was during dry land, during weightlifting.
We got a ton of flip turn injuries.
I can imagine that. Yeah, being the event that is the most risky.
Yes.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Actually, I found out from our swim coach that you don't have to do a flip turn.
You can do like a touch and turn, I think. I think
which is probably just slower.
To have both. I know at the end, like both hands I think need to go and touch. I've been learning still. But I know there's like a rule of like so many things have to touch the wall, and then it's okay.
I mean, it makes sense, I guess. If I know that they were talking about the early meets being kind of figuring out what disqualifies you and what doesn't, and kind of figuring out like what they're looking for. It's just helpful to talk to even the athletes sometimes don't know what disqualifies them, but
yeah, that's true.
But the coach does.
It's a good conversation starter too with your coach.
Yeah, never trust the athletes.
Yeah, no.
I think the last meet that we had, the athletes like, oh, we're doing a relay, and then the coach is like, no, it's an individual. It's like the 200 IM, and it's individual. But there is like what was it? There might be a 200 free relay that was happening, but she was like, but that's not. I was like, good to know. So she's only allowed to do these two races, not any of the others.
Right. Do you have any other modification things that you've learned?
I know that because sometimes, like if it's a shoulder, and because the kickboard, they often hold it out in front, and sometimes that's not a good position to be in.
That makes sense.
So sometimes they can do one arm, or they're put like a buoy under their stomach, I believe. I kind of leave the modification process up to the coach because they know most how to modify. So I'm like, okay, they can't have this arm doing anything, and they can't have it above their head. So if you can get them in there and do something, then they can do it, as long as they're not using this arm and it's not above their head. So I do, in that instance, because I'm not as familiar, rely heavily on the coaches to be like, this is what you're going to modify. And however you do it, I appreciate it.
So we did get a lot of flip turn injuries, and then just specifically from flip turns, we got a lot of heel injuries. So someone said they had bilateral heel contusions by smacking both heels on the deck during flip turn. Someone said they had a heel laceration from a flip turn, and then someone said they had a bilateral calcaneus fracture.
Oh my God, how hard did they hit it?
Oh gosh.
They were really trying
they were really trying to get that push.
I wonder if they were too close to the wall, and then when they went to bring their feet down, like if they hit the ledge instead of like pounding into it, it just hit
down.
Ouch.
It just sounds. The thing that is just crazy to me for all of these injuries, especially like the acute ones, is like they get injured and then they're in the water, and you have to get them out of the water.
Yeah. Ooh, how do you in that situation, who's getting them? Like if you have to get someone out of the water.
Generally, I know most of the meets I've been at, there have been lifeguards.
Okay.
So I leave the getting out of the pool to the lifeguard, and then once they're out, then I take over. There's also usually on a swim team at least one lifeguard. One person is a lifeguard. So you're already in a swimsuit, go
get them.
I'm not getting in that one.
And then bring them back to me, and I will take care of them. Luckily enough, I haven't had to deal with an emergent situation like that. I know it happens. My old swim coach sent me a video, and it's basically a girl was having a hard time and she was choking, and the lifeguard wasn't doing anything.
Oh shoot.
But like I didn't see really anyone do anything. She was fine, and everything was good, but it's kind of like you got to make sure that who the lifeguard is there, and are they watching?
Yeah.
Always, they're just sitting there and they're like, all right,
these people know how to swim.
Yeah.
We actually, on our Instagram, we put up a poll about if you've ever had to call 911 for swim, and 10% of people said they have, but we did not get a single story of a 911 call.
Oh.
So I don't even know what they're about, but I'm like, wow, that's intriguing.
Yeah.
I want to say, because I got really close to my past swim coach, and she has had to call 911. They were off campus, so it wasn't like an athletic trainer was there for them. So it was basically if something went wrong and it didn't look right, then they would call 911.
Yeah.
And one of them, I want to say the athlete was having a anxiety attack and didn't really know, because like hadn't really had an anxiety attack, and like was complaining of chest pain and stuff like that. And so they were like, "Well, we need to call." So
yeah,
call. Yeah.
We had an anonymous about a shoulder dislocation during a flip turn.
Dude, flip turn, man, taking casualties.
Well, this one's also about like how they got the kid to the side of the pool.
Oh, okay.
So this person said it was interesting to try to get her to the side of the pool with one shoulder out of place. LOL. Her teammates essentially pushed her from underneath, and then myself and a coach helped her lift her up out of the pool. It was also the first time I ever did a relocation. It was also the easiest relocation I've ever had. Her shoulder was just really loose. She had ligament tightening procedures in both shoulders before she called it quits.
Man.
Ouch. I do know for them to get to proper streamline position, like their arms have to be right by their head, and like if it's just forward or it's not far, so they have to have a lot of mobility in their shoulders.
Oh, good to know. Yeah. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, and if they can't get into streamline, then their whole start is not that good.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
We did get one of the advice someone submitted was get a good shoulder stretching routine down, and probably a lot of lats.
I'd imagine.
Yes. So the main injuries I dealt with for swim were bicep tendonitis. It became a joke that before I got to a certain institution, it was like whenever they left the athletic training room, it was they had bicep tendonitis. So I remember like they'd come to practice and coach would be like, was it bicep tendonitis? And they'd be like, that's what they said. But I tried to kind of dive a little deeper, but it is a pretty common one that you do see. And then fly, I would get some deltoid for people with fly because they're bringing it all out. Breaststroke, you have to watch the knees. So it's really hard on the knees. And if I think I just had an athlete the other day. They're like, my knees are bothering me. I was like, okay, what stroke are you? And I already probably knew it was breaststroke. And he was like, oh, I swim breast. And I was like, is that the only stroke? And he's like, well, I mean, a little free too, but breast is my main one. And I was like, okay, how have you taken a break from breaststroke at all? And he's like he just kind of looks like,
That's a no.
And I was like, a break in like a set or break in like a day? Like, was it a day break or was it only like, oh, this set I'll just choose not to do breaststroke? He's like,
right,
more like the set. And I was like, okay, you're gonna stop swimming breaststroke for a couple days because all the other strokes are okay, but just that torque that the breaststroke makes on your knees, they can't swim it like a ton, like especially days in a row and weeks in a row. Like they have to at some point. We usually run into like, all right, you need to take some time back from breaststroke. So I try and find like, okay, we don't have a meet this weekend, so this week you're going to work on all your other strokes.
Nice.
And then next week we can get back into breaststroke. That's
a good point.
Yeah, so that they don't feel like they're just like, no, you're not allowed to do breast. Well, I got to swim it this weekend. I need to be ready. And no, well, it's okay.
I didn't know that breaststroke was so hard on the body until you were evaluating the swimmers the other day. Like I was like, breaststroke, that seems like the simplest one.
Yeah, it's that twisting and then they kind of like snap their legs together, and it's that that torque on that knee. Usually I had an athlete who tore his meniscus.
Oh wow.
Oh my gosh.
I want to say, I can't remember if it was off of the start, like that's when he felt it, or if it was just from doing breast, but he was a breaststroker, and I had to be like, ooh, well, let's start with the other strokes first, see how your knee handles that. Like after I rehabbed him, got him better, and then we'll slowly introduce you to breaststroke to see how it goes. But
so I also put that.
So
what?
He finished the season, so it was nice.
Nice.
Oh, good. So I also put that up on our Instagram polls and on our Instagram stories. And I asked just what injuries people see based on the different strokes, or like where they see the most injuries. And 40% of people were saying butterfly, which I feel like is obvious. Butterfly just takes so much out of you. But 34% was the second, and it was breaststroke.
Yeah.
And then we got 15 for freestyle, 15%, and 11% for backstroke.
Yeah, I feel like back is probably the least.
Oh, interesting.
We did get an anonymous backstroke. I had a kid break his distal phalanx from running into the wall during backstroke. They didn't have the flags up for the swimmers to see, so he didn't know where the wall was.
Oof.
He stopped swimming and came and saw me on the football field. It was already purple and swelling.
Ouch.
Yeah, I was about to say, unless you either forget where the wall is or you run into the lane line, then that's where the injuries happen. Yeah, that's oof. I know that's crazy that they didn't have the flags because that's how backstrokers know where they're at. They like have a count once they hit the flag. Okay, I can do like 3 more strokes and then I have to turn. And then, but if you don't have that, how do you know?
Guess not.
Yeah, ouch. That's what happens.
Well, and if it's an outdoor pool and you can't, like, you don't have like I can
anything
do a fist rafter, like.
That is interesting.
Yeah, which if it's an outdoor pool, then you have the sun that plays an effect for backstroke depending on where it is.
Yeah, oh shoot, that's true.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, so can you see it see the flags through the sun?
Through the sun. Or are you looking right into that bad boy?
Yeah, that's why you'll see a lot of, I think, backstrokers have the tinted goggles more so.
Oh, okay.
That does make sense.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I always hated backstroke. I could never go straight.
I cannot do fly. Fly is not an option. I laugh when I come out of the water and it just ruins everything. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it, and then I laugh and then it's done.
Back when I was a kid, when I actually swam meets, butterfly was my go-to. Actually,
oh really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's cool.
Yeah, I feel like it's just a mess, but it takes a lot of coordination. It takes a lot of coordination.
It does.
You want to read the one about our butterfly injury?
Yes, this one's by Rebecca R.
And it's familiar to what Stephanie was saying.
All right, here we go. Had a girl fray her long head of bicep tendon off from butterfly and freestyle because she didn't have good range of motion. Yeah, I could see that being a problem. She had to do surgery and then was never allowed to do butterfly again. Needless to say, she was not disappointed.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Frayed her bicep tendon. Ouch.
Yeah.
That had to hurt.
Oh, I bet. She's definitely in the 40%.
Yeah.
Butterfly.
Yes.
And then that shoulder range of motion. That'll get you.
That'll get you.
I had a swimmer friend before I was an athletic trainer, a certified athletic trainer who butterfly was his event, and he had a spondy, and I'm trying to remember if it was a spondylolisthesis or a spondylolysis. Again, it was before I was like certified, so I don't think I really knew the difference at the time, but he was in a back brace for a long time, and he had to use a rolling backpack instead of one on his back.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow.
I feel like brace. I feel like spondylolisthesis.
Yeah, probably. I haven't tried to think too much about it since then.
Yeah. I feel like you said he was a fly.
That was his main.
Yeah, I feel like because of the whole curvature and I did get a couple lower back problems for people.
I mean, you have to get so much extension to get out of the water.
Yeah.
I mean, with my dance background, which is why I think that's the only reason why butterfly had like the mobility for butterfly. Other than that, like someone who's just going into although swimmers are pretty flexible, I feel like.
Yeah.
They have to be.
I was gonna say, I feel like you have to be.
And usually, if they're tight, that's when you run into the problems. Yeah. I highly rely on coaches, especially for like chronic injuries, so like bicep tendonitis or anything. I'm like, you need to look at your form and make sure your mechanics are good. And then coach reports back to me like, Oh yeah, they can't get like when they're coming out, they're not rotating their chest out and then going over, or yeah, they only breathe to the right side instead of alternating. So I do rely on coaches for that information, because hopefully that can help me in trying to like for their rehab, trying to kind of
absolutely
target certain things. Yeah.
Yeah, it helps too, because it's like I don't know what it's supposed to necessarily look like. So yeah, that is where coach is going to be clutch.
Yes.
That's like in baseball. I'm like, have your coach look at your swing.
I do it for softball too. Your pitching motion, make sure it's proper.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna watch. Okay, this is what I see. What?
Happened so fast. I don't know what I was supposed to see, but great. Looks good.
Yeah.
More flip turns. So you want to read this anonymous one?
Yes, this one's by Anonymous. I had a swimmer sprain their ankle on a flip turn. You really can't make it up. It seems when they went to push off from the flip turn, their foot slipped on the wall and inverted just right. Grade 1 sprain at best. Definitely a head scratcher of, how'd you do that?
Ankle sprains suck in swim because they're literally forcing their ankles into plantar flexion.
Yeah.
Through kicking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Big time.
They have to have like, and all that pressure from the water is pushing on it on top of that. Yeah. You're gonna be torn for a while, buddy.
And I was gonna say, like, it's not like those dry land sports where you can just tape it up.
Right. Not for meets, at least.
Yeah.
For Rebecca R said, for ankle sprains, I have found that the normal athletic tape is not as effective. Now I put them in a compression ankle brace with straps. You don't have to, or don't waste tape. For me, I just found the tape wasn't as effective. The wrap you could relace, quote unquote, like a brace. Maybe it was just the brand of tape, but it was a bitch to get off. Plus, I've always worked lower level schools, so we were not required to be there for their 6 a.m. practice. So if needed to be taped, no one would be there and they wouldn't get what they needed. This solved that issue.
Oh, interesting.
Which swim always goes freaking early and no one's ever going to be there for them. So trying to tape them to prevent something. I've taped someone before and I'm like, okay, leave this on. Like power flex, leave this on.
Yeah.
Until your morning practice and then take it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and even in because I have most of my experience in the collegiate level, they do 2-a-days sometimes.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, we're going to practice at 6 a.m. and then we're going to practice at 3 p.m. But it was explained why they try to do that. And it's because when you get to big meets like a national championship, you have prelims in the morning and then finals at night.
Right.
So you're swimming all of that in a span of usually 3 to 4 days, I believe, are the national championships, depending on where you're at. So it's like to try and get them prepared that, yes, you have to swim in the morning and in the afternoon.
That's interesting. Because, track's different. They do their prelims and finals on different days. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably, because there's only one pool, right? So you have to get through all the different strokes and then get the finals. And they are long days. Long days. Best tip is to find very comfy shoes because the pool deck is not a comfy area to stand.
No.
Oh, I bet.
People also said bring lots of snacks.
Oh, I bet.
Yes. The nice thing at the meet that I traveled, the big meet I traveled for, which was the national championships, they had a hospitality tent.
I love
that's
it.
Nice.
Those are fun.
And the staff. So we'd like, okay, we're going to go get lunch and sneak away and bring all these snacks. And yes, definitely bring snacks.
So we also had someone that said they had a kid tear their labrum in the middle of a lap of freestyle. No contact whatsoever. They just felt a pop.
Man.
Ouch.
That's a lot of power.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know what their history was or anything, but that's just crazy.
Yeah, I had an athlete that I was like, oh, I feel like it can't be a labral tear, but like my tests are saying otherwise. And then the coach actually informed me that like no, like labrum tears in swimmers are actually very common.
Is it because the biceps?
I think it's just because of the constant repetitive, either if they're doing freestyle and they're constantly externally rotating, or their starting pose, their streamlined pose, like it's just a lot of excess on end joint range of motion for that shoulder, so it just frays down. And depending on what type of coach you have, if they are a mileage coach where they're like, oh, we're gonna swim 10,000 miles per practice twice a day, then like versus someone who maybe tries to do more like, okay, we're gonna do a high intensity but low mileage. There are different concepts out there.
Okay.
So depending on the concept, I think that also plays a part. And swim is all year round. They need to swim all year round. They don't. I'm like, okay, this summer, like, take a break, and they're like, oh, I can't. I gotta go swim with my club, and I'm like,
yep.
You're like, can you not?
Can you rest a week?
Yeah, seriously, just anything.
Can you change it up? Do something that doesn't hurt you?
Anything.
We have someone who cut open their toe tripping on the pool bridge.
Ouch.
Which I've done that before to myself when I was learning aquatic therapy, and I had a freaking bloody toe all over.
That's pretty funny.
Or the pool wall, like getting out of the pool, scraping out of the pool wall.
Well, I feel like your skin gets all pruny, so then like more susceptible to get.
Seriously. You had a toe laceration. Didn't you just have one?
Yeah, it was one of your kiddos. It was
one of our kids.
Yeah, took care of one of your kiddos. I was like, hey, do you know your athletic trainer? Oh yeah, Stephanie. I was like, well, I'm talking to Sandra. It's like, oh, Sandra, and then she was like, don't tell them I did this. It was pretty funny.
She's a hoot.
We have Stephanie, you'll like this one. Rebecca R said, in one season I had 5 swimmers get a concussion. 1 was getting out of her car and knocked her head. 2 and 3 walked into a bar in the weight room. 4 knocked her head on a block getting out of the pool, a head laceration and concussion. And 5th was a backstroker who miscounted strikes and ran full stream into the wall. Full steam into the wall. Okay,
but you see, like, again, it just kind of like it's something that I can relate to track. That is exactly how you get 5 concussions in track. Like, right, the majority of them have nothing to do with the sport, and then 2 of them are somewhat sport related, but like they messed up something or they were goofing off. Yeah. That's exactly the same thing.
I was talking to her and she was like, it was just that year. Like, it was the concussion year, just like you and I had.
Yeah, in the fall. Trying to put that out of our minds, but
seriously, go away.
I feel like that sums up a lot of like acute swim injuries. It's like I run into the wall, I run into the lane line, or in dry land. That's
yeah, gravity's a bummer.
Right.
I feel like when I think of swim, I think of bee stings. And we had someone submit. I had a kid who got a bee sting before their race. They were stung on the platform and couldn't finish the race. It was on top of her foot by her big toe, so she started walking weird. I tried to use some sting relief cream and cover it, but I think the chlorine might have caused too much pain, and we had to remove her for the rest of the day.
Oh, that sucks. That's a bummer.
Ouch.
I had a kid who literally, I was standing in the med tent, and they were walking by, and they're like, oh, hi. And then they're like, oh, ow, ow. And they like crouched down, and I was like, what just happened? Yeah. And they got stung by a bee right in front of me. And I was like, well, of all the places you're gonna get stung by a bee, I guess this is a good spot.
Hey, see, that's why I'm glad our pool deck's an indoor facility. So
you're lucky.
We'll minimize the bee interaction.
Randy is terrified of bees.
I do not like bees,
and he works swim now. So
I'm right there with you. I would hide behind the athletes, so you know.
See, anytime like at a track meet, right? Like if a bee came around, like the athletes would freak out, and like I'd stay pretty calm until it started coming towards me, and then I was like, no, I'm out of here.
I was wondering where you're going with that story. Calm and bee.
Yeah, I did pretty good. I had to
calm and just walk away.
Yeah,
like okay, I'm not going back to that spot.
Yep. That's your table right now, bee. You can have it. Yep. You can have it.
I'll let you be.
I'll let you be.
I really enjoyed working swim actually, and getting immersed. If you have a chance to go to a national championship, like a big one, highly recommend it, because the atmosphere is just like, you get so pumped and you're like, and the race is super close. I lost my voice on day 1 because I was yelling so much. I think our team was special because our coach really stressed like a team environment. You know, it's an individual sport technically, but like there is a team aspect. But she was like, no, you are a team. You're going to root on everyone. So like we have our whole team. And if we're talking 18 people on the women's side, 18 on the men, plus a couple more maybe, we're all standing there yelling and like cheering, and it's like, yeah. And then if you actually win the race, it's a great feeling. I haven't even swam. I haven't even been with the whole year, and I'm just like, yes, this is it.
and plus it's cool to, like you said, like at a national championship, like you're seeing everyone at their peak. So it's really cool to see the performances and just how good just some of these athletes are.
Yeah. And then the specific national championship that I've been to, there is one school that for the past 45 years
my gosh,
has gotten first place. I think 45 on the men and like 42 on the women. Like there's I think the men's program came first and then the women's program.
Yeah.
And they've won first. Like they've won it all, basically.
A lot.
And so, but now the other schools are starting to catch up. And so like when you win an actual race and you become a national champion, like everyone is so stoked. It's like, yes,
that's so cool.
We beat them. Like, and it's actually really interesting because we're starting to see like they're having to fight for their first place position now. So
nice.
That's kind of fun.
I think added an extra element to the excitement.
Oh yeah.
It was like, oh my God, we won.
We did the impossible.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a battle for second place for the team points.
Yeah.
And then the individual. But I think one day they're going to get knocked off.
Oh, probably. 100%.
Yeah.
That'll be exciting.
It will be exciting.
So we actually I think we only have 2 more, and then we just have a bunch of things people submitted for what they put in their kit. And these 2 are both from thoracic outlet syndrome.
Which I could see. I get it.
Yeah. Someone said, my first year at my current job, I had a high school swimmer with bilateral chronic shoulder pain, generalized laxity, without acute injury. By the time I met her, she had tried taping her shoulders, had periods of complete rest, gone to PT, and still couldn't make it through a practice when she would move from water polo straight to swim season, which water polo is a whole beast in itself. After many doctors telling her she should quit swim, we pushed for them to evaluate for TOS, and sure enough, she had vascular TOS. She saw a vascular surgeon, and with non-operative treatment, she was able to swim her last 2 years.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Do you want to read the other one?
Yes, this one's also by Anonymous. I had a girl diagnosed with double thoracic outlet syndrome. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
She had an abnormally large first rib that was bilateral. She had surgery on the right side and then started feeling symptoms on the left and elected to get surgery on the other side. She elected to continue swimming. I wonder how it went, like after they took out the first rib.
They said that she was able to make a full recovery.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, first rib.
I know.
What an inconvenience.
Well, also like the fact that one of them was vascular and the other one was a first rib.
Yeah.
I feel like of all thoracic outlet syndromes, those two, I mean, like, yeah, you see first rib. Vascular, I feel like, is less often.
They say vascular is a very low percentage, which all our thoracic outlet tests are for vascular.
I thought they were for both.
Well, you can try and use it, but that's why you palpate the pulse.
Yeah, but if their hands go numb.
Yeah. But the real sign, like the real positive, like on paper, is that diminished pulse. So yeah, if they're here, yeah, you could probably assume it's like neuro, but technically the positive is you're looking for the pulse.
I thought I learned it as both.
Yeah,
like,
I mean it works.
If it's pulse, it's vascular, and if it's not, then it's neuro.
Yeah.
But double thoracic outlets, and I was thinking it was totally going to be muscular related, but neither of these are muscular related.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
I know.
Because that is hard to treat. Yes. TOS, that's tough.
Especially on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough enough on like a baseball athlete, let alone a swimmer who needs larger ranges and using both arms.
Mm-hmm.
So some kit essentials. Randy, now that you work swim, is there anything you specifically put in your kit for swim? You're still working on that?
Yeah, I'm still working on it. There's not one thing I was like, ooh, I should start bringing this. Because it was literally one meet, and like it was pretty low key and it was pretty chill. I think my athletes are still kind of getting used to me, so
true.
Yeah, so I haven't had anything yet to be like, oh, I need this.
Stephanie, do you have any kit musts?
Yes. Anything waterproof. No.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like Band-Aids and stuff. I highly recommend. Usually when I send away with my teams, I give them Band-Aids because they usually just scrape things. Honestly, it's probably them getting out of the bus that they get hurt. But
dry land.
Yes. But it's more so if you are at a meet with tech suits, because they are because it's so hard, they end up scraping their knuckles. So they literally get bloody knuckles
from the suit.
Yeah, from the suit. So they'll come out and they'll be like, it's like sliced or just frayed off.
Oh my gosh.
So you're like, here you go. And trying to like give them waterproof Band-Aids. That's definitely something I was like, oh, all right. I would put some form of like electrolytes or Gatorade.
Okay.
Especially if you're having a double day. And then if it's hot, and especially for those mile swimmers, they're doing a lot of swimming. When I would travel more with like a massage gun, like a hypervolt or a foam roller. I had a cup set because I was doing more manual therapy than actual like, oh, okay, we need to tape you up to get out there.
Right.
More of like, all right, what can I do to loosen up these muscles? Or like a portable stim unit.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah, those came in handy, very much so. I would say KT tape because it is waterproof, so like I've used that to help hold bandages on, kind of like how your story from before.
Yeah.
Does KT tape have a waterproof option, or I know Rock tape does? I don't know if KT tape does.
I
love Rock tape waterproof. It is like my favorite thing. I actually love Rock tape.
Isn't it designed to?
I think Rock tape sticks a lot better in general.
It's supposed to, but there are some brands that are better than others. Like Rock tape is really good with their adhesive. Mm-hmm. And some adhesives, I've ran into that. I put it on, and man, right when they get in the water, it doesn't matter.
Definitely, you get what you pay for. That's for sure.
I've done that for myself. If I've had to put a Band-Aid on and then go shower or something, like I put KT tape over it.
Yeah. I think those are the basics. If you're at an outdoor pool, maybe some bee sitting stuff. I forget what it's called.
We have that was like the number one. People wrote sting relief. Sunscreen, Tegaderm, eye wash, contact solution, different tapes that people have found to stick, mostly KT tape, Powerflex, Leuco tape, and dynamic tape, which I feel like dynamic tape is like vaguely familiar, but I don't think I could have told you that.
Oh yeah. I haven't used dynamic tape in a while.
I don't know if I'm thinking of the right thing or if I'm thinking of what power tape or something. I don't know if I'm thinking of the right thing. I don't.
Dynamic tape's the one. It's like KT tape, but instead of KT tape only like stretches in one way, the dynamic tape also has some stretchability this way.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's supposed to just give more pull and like.
Never mind. I'm thinking of the one that goes on top of Powerflex. What tape is that?
Oh, like the Power Fast or
okay, that's yeah.
Or,
I knew. I know what you're talking
about. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Eye wash and contact solution, I feel like is
a must no matter what.
Some people wrote that, and I was like, oh yeah, like swimmers' eyes red all the time.
Maybe something for swimmer's ear.
Oh yeah, we got that. Swimmer's ear solutions. Yeah. I've used hydrogen peroxide for that. Stick them on their side, pour it in their ear, wait till it stops bubbling, and dump it out.
Dump it out.
Dry it out.
Yeah.
Massage stick, Hypervolt, Vaseline, skin lube. That's extra towels.
Oh
yeah. For sure.
Yeah, especially depending on where you're sitting. And if a wet athlete sits down, you're just like, that's my seat.
Yeah, I think I'd be good if I didn't work swim again because I don't like water anymore. But extra towels would be a must for me.
Oh, big time.
A must.
Yes. I was deathly afraid of falling into the pool.
Oh, really?
Oh, I see that. Yeah.
That person that like they just because you stand pretty close
to
the pool deck, and it's just like someone's gonna bump into me, and I'm gonna be that person that falls in the water.
Where do you stand during a swim meet? Do you usually have a med tent or I guess
because I was with my team, like we traveled, I always just hung out with my team. So I was
kind of like track.
Yeah, we had there's bleachers usually all around the pool, and they set up like, oh, this is our bleacher spot. So that's kind of where we would hang out. There was a med tent. They would have one. And so sometimes I'd go over and obviously introduce myself and say hello. But yeah, I usually hung out around where our team was.
Nice.
Which was right by the pool. If I had to move.
But you were never pushed in, right?
I was never pushed in.
Oh, good.
I had to walk by someone, and I had to go like kind of. They usually have like a string that's like, don't go past this. But like I needed to get by someone, so I went on the other side. And it's like I was like walking on the edge of a cliff. Like, okay.
Oh my gosh.
Not like I'm gonna move really slow. If I'm going in, I'm grabbing someone because they're in with me.
You're going down with me.
I'm never gonna stand next to you by a pool.
Yeah.
I'm glad our pool's empty right now.
I know. Well, it was an indoor pool, so everything was very like where the bleachers were, there was very little room.
Narrow.
Yeah.
Compressed.
So like when people were trying to walk to their benches, like there was just a lot of people in a very small area.
That makes sense.
But I did not fall in.
That's good.
That was like the other day, someone was like, I'm going to tell the team to pour the Gatorade on you. And I was like, no.
Why would you do that?
I'm going to get out of this career. Like, by the time I retire, I'm never going to have that happen to me.
Uh-oh. Don't say that.
I could say that.
Knock on wood.
I'm knocking on wood. Same thing. Like, never get pushed in a pool.
Yeah, seriously.
Do you guys either of you guys have any more wrap-up swim stories?
No, I'm excited to learn.
Wounds do not do well in the pool.
Oh, yeah.
So I had an athlete. We went to the cliffs, and it's like, because it was supposed to be high wave, like king waves, I think they call it. And so we were like, oh, like, let's go watch the waves hit the cliffs because it's very powerful. It's the ocean. Of course, these swimmers think, well, I do water, so I'm not afraid of water. Like, and they climbed out, like, onto where, like, kind of the waves were crashing down.
Oh, great.
And one of the kids, it wiped him out.
Oh, damn.
He got the front of his shins, like, pretty much almost the whole shin was scraped. And
wow.
And we had to, I think one of the guys on the team was a Boy Scout, so he carried a first aid kit. So he was like, I'll go get it. Because it was just going to be like a little team hike. And like they invited me out because I had been with them and doing stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'll go on a team hike. Like, that's cool. And then he could not get in the pool just because the chlorine and everything. And I don't think I had big enough Tagaderm at that time to be able to cover it all. Because it was, I'm talking like, dang. They were massive, and he had to let those heal for like a week or two.
Dang.
That's such a bummer.
Yeah, chlorine and wounds don't sound like a good
good mixture.
Yeah.
If your athlete's thinking about getting tattoos,
oh my goodness,
season, tell them to wait. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Our coach luckily was like, no, if you got it, like, you can't get in the pool because it's going to get infected. Like, you got to stay out. But of course they don't think of those things.
No. I don't know how this has not come up yet, but speaking of swimmers and thinking they're good with water, one of my swimmers, like years ago, he was taking an ice bath for the first time. And like, you think like these swimmers get in cold water first thing in the morning, like when it's cold outside. And this kid took an ice bath. It was his first time ever taking an ice bath, and he was hyperventilating, and we were like, oh, like, you know, we're trying to calm his breathing, like, and he really wanted to do the ice bath. And we're trying to calm his breathing, and then finally he couldn't calm down in the ice bath. So we took him out, and he starts going into shock. And we're like, God. Kid, you are a swimmer. You're used to cold. It wasn't even like below 50. It was, I think for first time ice bathers, we usually do like closer to 60. So I'm sure it wasn't like that cold. I don't know how cold their water is, but I mean, not ice bath, obviously. But yeah, we treated him, and we were like, okay, you can never take an ice bath again, dude. Yeah.
I want to say a pool has to be between like 75 and 80 degrees.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about on our meet, because like our indoor facility is like really humid, and they're saying it has to be like in a certain range for it to be a regulation pool.
Yeah. I think like with all the germs and stuff like that, it just helps keep it all. And the all the chemicals that they put in to kill everything.
Yeah. Makes sense. And kill all the pee in the pool.
Bring some ibuprofen for that chlorine headache if you're at an indoor.
Oh yeah.
Oh, good call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone said wear a mask if you're sensitive to chlorine, especially if you're in an indoor pool.
Yeah, it gets hot. We were in Buffalo and it was snowing, and we literally had to like strip once we got into shore because we were like, all right,
really hot.
Have to, it's hot. We're in shorts and a t-shirt, and then you walk outside and it's snowing.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah. I think overall swimmers are I think it's kind of like track. They're very, I don't know. I've always loved my swimmers. They've always been super nice and super thankful. I feel like because sometimes they do practice in the morning or you're not always there, that they definitely appreciate when you are helping them or if you do show up to something. Like that first trip I took, they were so thankful. And I was like, guys, like, of course.
Yeah.
But no worries.
I like my little swimmers. They're fun.
I would say that pretty much wraps up swim.
Yeah. Like I said, I learned a lot from it. There were a lot of just like those little, it's always those little like fine tuning things, like the intricacies of a sport that are always the things you're not taught that you just have to learn. So it's really cool to kind of hear them ahead of time and be ready. Well, throw the athletes off guard because I know.
There are times in the clinic, Stephanie would be like, oh, like this about swim. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, we have to put that in the episode.
Yeah. That's true.
So if you guys are new, every other episode we do is education or stories. This one was an educated story episode.
Yes.
This one was a story episode.
I mean, all our story episodes are
informative.
Yes.
This one was a story episode. So if you guys actually want to submit first of all, if you have a swim story that you want to submit, it's not too late. You can still email us at atcorners@gmail.com. I'm going to just read a list of some of the story episodes we're doing in the future. So if you don't follow us on Instagram, which you should, at ATCorner Podcast, we're going to do your journey in athletic training. How did you get to where you are now? What jobs and settings did you do along the way? Clinical philosophy, I'm interested in to see what we get on that. We're going to do, this is a really exciting one. We're going to do one about your kit, how you picked your kit. Yeah. We're going to do some fanny versus sling debates, which I know I'm always on the minority, but toolkit versus your bag, some rollers. What would you change about your kit? Who paid for your kit?
All about the kit.
So basically like all that stuff. We'll put that up on our Instagram. Again, if you guys are interested, we do post prompts on our Instagram, stories midweek. And it's every other week. So like if it's an education week, we'll post getting ready for the upcoming week of stories. So if you're looking for those, eye, nose, face injuries. I want to do.
Those are your favorite right there.
I want to do one about someone submitted. I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but I want to do one. Someone was asking if we could do a story episode on the come down after like an adrenaline, like after you call 911, after you have an emergency situation, and kind of like the come down after that. So we're going to be talking all about those things. Keep an eye out for the prompts. Send us your stories. Look out for the on Instagram. So. And then I'll also post up in our Facebook group, which if you guys are not a part of, it's facebook.com/group/ATcornerPodcast. And it's just one question to get in. How did you hear about our podcast? And we'll automatically let you in.
Yes. And for the education side, we have some pretty cool, exciting interviews coming up.
We do. We have a lot of educational interviews.
Spring 2023, man.
I know.
We got some big stuff
coming.
Hard
to keep up. So with that, I think that's all our fine print.
Yeah, I believe so.
All right, Randy.
Thank you for helping us showcase athletic training behind the tape. Bye.